Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren,
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr Zetsche, and as Chairman of the Supervisory Board, I hereby open the Annual General Meeting of TUI AG and assume the chairmanship in accordance with the Articles of Association. I would like to welcome our shareholders and shareholder representatives, as well as representatives of the press. The Annual General Meeting is held as a virtual Annual General Meeting without the physical presence of shareholders and their authorized representatives. However, the company proxies authorized by shareholders or shareholder representatives to exercise voting rights will be present on site in the attendance area. The Executive Board has decided to hold a virtual Annual General Meeting in accordance with Section 21, subsection 8, sentence 1 of the company's Article of Association after consulting with the Supervisory Board. Now, by way of introduction, please allow me to explain why the Management Board has once again decided to use the virtual Annual General Meeting format this year after consulting with the Supervisory Board. We are aware that there is a lot of discussion about this format. There are critics and supporters, and it is not possible to identify a clear opinion. We have carefully weighed up the advantages and disadvantages of holding an AGM virtually. We have decided to hold the AGM in virtual format again this year, in particular due to the positive experience we had last year. The format offers you, the shareholders, an easy way to participate and an intensive and direct exchange between you and us. This has been demonstrated by the numerous requests to speak at our AGMs over the past 2 years. In contrast to an AGM with physical attendance, shareholders who would not have been able to attend the Annual General Meeting in person, for example due to a long journey, are also able to actively participate in the AGM. Finally, the lower costs of a virtual meeting compared to an in-person event also played a role once again, particularly in light of our ongoing efforts to cut costs. Under Agenda Item 8.1, we are asking you for your approval today for a new authorization to hold virtual Annual General Meetings in order to continue to have the flexibility to choose between the virtual format and an in-person event over the next 2 years. In accordance with the resolution proposed by the Executive Board and Supervisory Board, we have again limited the term of this new authorization to 2 years. This means that the Executive Board and Supervisory Board have once again deliberately not utilized the maximum period of 5 years granted by law. In addition, unlike in the past, we have stipulated in the proposed new authorization that the Executive Board's decision to hold a virtual meeting will in future also require the formal approval of the Supervisory Board. If we receive the required majority for this new authorization today, the Executive Board and Supervisory Board will of course also make the decision on the format for the AGMs in the coming years, taking into account all key aspects and on the basis of comprehensive consideration. In particular, we will continue to take into account our experience with the virtual format and closely monitor developments in the market. After these general preliminary remarks, I would now like to turn to the formalities. I would like to welcome Dr. Corinna Neumann, Notary Public, who is taking the minutes of the AGM. All members of the Executive Board and Supervisory Board are present on site. Also present are the company's proxies, Ms. Marvin Richter and Mr. Andreas Schilling, in the attendance area. Now to some formalities. I hereby declare that the AGM has been convened in due form and time. The invitation to today's AGM was duly published in the Federal Gazette on 2 January 2025. A printout of the announcement is available here on site and will be included in the notarized minutes. Furthermore, the notice of the AGM was also forwarded to media that enable Europe-wide distribution. The AGM documents and the information required pursuant to Section 124A of the German Stock Corporation Act in connection with the convening of the AGM have been made available in German and English on TUI AG's website since the AGM was convened. All publication requirements in connection with the annual general meeting were met. I have personally satisfied myself of this. No requests for additions to the agenda to be announced have been received. Statements from shareholders received by the company in due form and time have been made available via the company's investor portal. I would like to use this opportunity to point out once again that it is not intended to consider motions or answer questions contained in the statements. I would ask you to ask such questions at the meeting today, if necessary. I will provide further information and explanations in a moment. Mr. Martin Ohm has submitted counter-motions to agenda items 9 and 10 regarding the resolutions on the confirmation of the remuneration system and the remuneration for the members of the Supervisory Board and on the approval of the remuneration report for the financial year ended 30 September 2024, prepared and audited in accordance with Section 162 of the German Stock Corporation Act, and proposed that the AGM vote against the management's proposed resolutions on each of these agenda items. The company made these counter-motions available on the company's website on 17 January 2025. In addition, we have received counter-motions from the Dachverband der kritischen Aktionärinnen und Aktionäre e.V. This organization has also proposed that the actions of the members of the Executive Board and the Supervisory Board not be approved with regard to agenda items 2 and 3. The company also made these counter-motions available on the company's website on 28 January 2025. All counter-motions received and published in due form and time are deemed to have been submitted at the time of their respective publication. If you wish to support one of these counter-motions, you must vote no to the management's proposed resolution when voting on the relevant agenda item. There are no other counter-motions and/or election proposals that were received prior to the AGM in due form and time, which had to be made available and would have to be dealt with at today's virtual AGM. Shareholders entered in the share register can follow the entire AGM via video and audio transmission on the Internet via TUI AG's password-protected investor portal. However, only shareholders or their authorized representatives who are connected to the meeting electronically may exercise their shareholder rights at the AGM. The electronic connection of shareholders or their authorized representatives to the meeting requires, in particular, proper registration for today's AGM. In addition, the first part of the meeting, until the end of the speeches by Mr. Ebel and Mr. Kiep, will also be broadcast to the public via the company's website. Together with the external service provider, we commissioned and we carefully prepared and checked the technical precautions required for the live broadcast. The notary also had the technical arrangements explained to her in detail and was able to form her own comprehensive opinion of the technology. In particular, notary Dr. Neumann familiarized herself with our IT-supported voting system and the entire voting procedure. She will also monitor the voting process and the counting of votes. At the same time, she has convinced herself of the proper functioning of the system for the submission of objections and recording of allegedly unanswered or insufficiently answered questions. Please note that the transmission of the annual general meeting on the Internet, and therefore also via the investor portal, may be slightly delayed for technical reasons. As a company, we have no influence on this, and I would ask you to take this possible technical delay into account when exercising your shareholder rights and to exercise your rights as early as possible. In addition, I will, of course, announce certain times, such as the end of the possibility for exercising voting rights or changing votes already cast or changing the form of voting rights, the closing of the general debate or the vote well in advance so that you can prepare for these. Shareholders or their authorized representatives who have joined the meeting electronically will be granted the right to speak at the meeting by means of video communication. As announced in the convening notice, I hereby stipulate that the right to information pursuant to Section 31, subsection 1F of the German Stock Corporation Act may only be exercised by means of video communication. Corresponding requests to speak can be registered via the investor portal from 10 a.m. this morning. Shareholders or their authorized representatives who wish to make a speech, including any motions, election proposals, or requests for information, require either a non-mobile device, such as a PC, notebook, or laptop, or a mobile device, such as a smartphone, to connect their speech. A camera and microphone must be available on the devices for speeches. It is not necessary to install software components or applications on the devices. Further information, for example, on compatible browsers, has been made available in advance on the company's website under the menu item Investors/Annual General Meeting and in the investor portal under the item Documents in the document Technical Information on Registering Speeches, since the meeting was convened and can also be accessed still today. Appropriate video and audio transmission must be guaranteed by the shareholder. Requests to speak can only be made via the password-protected investor portal. To do this, please call up the page Request to Speak, Right to Speak, Right to Information, Motion, Election Proposals in the menu and register your request to speak there. You can view the request to speak you have submitted in the table under My Requests. During the course of the meeting, I will divide the speakers into groups. In good time before the start of the speaker block, in which you will have the opportunity to speak, you will be informed by a corresponding display above your video stream that your personal waiting room is available. You can then enter this waiting room virtually by clicking on the Enter Waiting Room button. You will then be connected to an employee of our service provider. They will carry out a technical check of the transmission of video and audio together with you so that you can speak at the meeting with as little disruption as possible. Once this check has been successfully completed, you can continue to follow the meeting in your waiting room until I call you to speak. You will then be connected live to the meeting after my call and can give your speech. When you have finished speaking, the employee of our service provider will dismiss you from the waiting room, and you can continue to follow the meeting in the investor portal. The discussion on the agenda items will take place in a general debate. Upon entering the general debate, I intend to announce 3 to 6 speakers who have registered their contributions. As explained in the convening notice, I reserve the right to impose reasonable time limits on the right to speak and provide information. Duly registered shareholders or their authorized representatives who are connected to the AGM electronically have the opportunity to object to the resolutions of the annual general meeting via the password-protected investor portal under the menu item Objection/Objection pursuant to Section 131, subsection 5 of the German Stock Corporation Act, Request/Request pursuant to Section 131, subsection 4 of the German Stock Corporation Act until the annual general meeting is closed by me as chairman of the meeting. To do so, click on the red objection button below and select the specific agenda item against whose resolution you wish to object. You can then also enter a text in the input field provided there and to click on the submit button to send your objection to the notary responsible for recording the minutes of the annual general meeting. Shareholders or their authorized representatives who are connected to the AGM electronically can submit their objections and requests in accordance with Section 131, subsection 5, sentence 1 and subsection 4, sentence 1 of the German Stock Corporation Act by means of electronic communication via the password-protected investor portal under the menu item objection pursuant to section 131, subsection 5, German Stock Corporation Act / request pursuant to section 131, subsection 4, German Stock Corporation Act by clicking on the corresponding red box, entering their objection in the text field provided there, and then clicking on the Submit button. The attendance area for today's annual general meeting comprises the Niedersachsenhalle and the adjoining conference rooms of the Hanover Conference Center, Theodor Heuss Platz 1 to 3 in Hanover. In particular, the members of the Executive Board and the Supervisory Board, as well as the company's proxies, are present in the Niedersachsenhalle. Let me announce the attendance of today's meeting. The attendance list is available, and of the company's registered share capital in the amount of 507,431,133 euros, divided into 507,431,033 no par value shares, 125,570,270 shares with the same number of votes are represented. This corresponds to 24.75% of the registered share capital. In addition, voting statements have been received for 11,053,551 no par value shares. Together, 136,626,791 no par value shares are held, corresponding to 26.93% of the registered share capital. In addition, 187 shareholders are connected via our investor portal. I'm going to sign this list of attendees and will hand it over to the notary, and I will proceed accordingly with the updated list. In addition, a regularly updated list of attendees will be available to all shareholders and their proxies connected electronically to the meeting via the investor portal under the menu item List of Attendees. I will also inform you of any changes in attendance in due course. I would like to point out that image and sound recordings, as well as the recording of this video transmission, are not permitted. According to our Articles of Association, I, as the chairman of the meeting, determine the order of the agenda items, as well as the type and form of voting. Votes are taken using the so-called addition procedure. The votes in favor and against are counted. Abstentions are not relevant to the result. The votes are counted using a data processing system. Shareholders who have duly registered for the AGM or their authorized representatives may exercise their voting rights via the investor portal in accordance with the voting procedure to be explained by myself. And they can vote themselves or through a representative by postal vote by means of electronic communication, or the proxies of the company may exercise their voting rights in accordance with the instructions issued by them and may amend or revoke any instructions issued. Voting is possible until the time I specify in the voting process. I will, of course, announce this in good time. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to the completion of the agenda. Agenda item 1. Presentation of the adopted annual financial statements as at 30 September 2024 and of the approved consolidated financial statements, the combined management report, the group management report with the explanatory report on the disclosures pursuant to sections 289A and 315A of the German Commercial Code, and the report of the Supervisory Board. The documents mentioned under agenda item 1 have been made available on the company's website since the AGM meeting was convened on 2 January 2025, and they will also be available on the investor portal during the annual general meeting. Before I give the floor to our CEO, Sebastian Ebel, and our CFO, Mathias Kiep, I would like to turn to the report of the Supervisory Board. Dear shareholders, The financial year 2024 was another year of upturn and renewal for TUI. With a very good operational performance compared to the previous year, we were able to significantly increase our earnings. Our focus was on further optimizing our balance sheet structures, improving our credit ratios, and implementing strategic measures and transformations. The continued positive development in bookings impressively underlines the strength of our brand and the trust our customers place in us. Our diversified product portfolio and our asset-right growth strategy have made a significant contribution to our ability to significantly exceed expectations in the holiday experience segment. One milestone in the past financial year was the simplification of our listing structure. This project was supported by the Supervisory Board. With your approval and their approval, we completed the delisting in London and achieved the inclusion of the TUI share in the German Prime Standard and the MDAX. This step centralizes liquidity, reduces complexity, and facilitates compliance with regulatory requirements. We also discussed the group's refinancing strategy with the Executive Board. The successful placement of a sustainability-related bond and a convertible bond were important steps. Both financial instruments extend our maturity profile and reduce future interest costs. This will give us greater financial leeway and also for the further transformation of the group. The Supervisory Board dealt intensively with strategic issues, in particular with regard to this transformation of the group. We discussed measures to accelerate profitable growth and increase TUI Group's agility and cost efficiency. At the end of financial year 2024, the focus was on the transformation of the markets and airlines segment, the implementation of globally standardized technology platforms, and the strengthening of TUI Airlines' commercial responsibility. Let me now turn to the Executive Board of TUI AG. In this context, the Supervisory Board attaches great importance to long-term personnel planning. I am therefore very pleased that we have been able to reach an agreement with Sebastian Ebel and Mathias Kiep to extend their appointments until 30 September 2028. Both have achieved remarkable success in their respective roles. Sebastian Ebel is characterized by his entrepreneurial vision, his strength of implementation, and his unwavering passion for the group. Mathias Kiep has managed to comprehensively refinance the TUI Group in recent years and re-established solid financial structures following the challenges of the pandemic. This makes them both indispensable members of TUI AG's management team, and we're delighted that they will continue to put their full commitment at the service of our group in the future. In the run-up to the annual general meeting, we were confronted with criticism regarding our remuneration report. We take the feedback from proxy advisors and our investors very seriously and will, as usual, use it as an opportunity to evaluate further potential for improvement in external reporting. As the Supervisory Board, we will continue to examine the demand for more detailed disclosure of targets on the basis of sound business judgment and carefully weigh this up against the interests of the company so as not to disadvantage the company and therefore you as shareholders. In addition, concerns were expressed about the increase of the targets amounts of individual members of the Management Board. I would like to clarify that this followed a two-stage approach in which Executive Board members receive an increased remuneration package when their appointment is extended for the first time. These remuneration levels have remained unchanged for several years. They do not represent excessive increases in remuneration, but rather epitomize our transparent actions. In addition, the Executive Board was reduced in size in the 2023 financial year. As a result, the total remuneration of the Executive Board has decreased. The Supervisory Board of TUI AG also regularly reviews the level of remuneration for the members of the Executive Board in order to assess its appropriateness. As the Supervisory Board, we have come to the conclusion that this is the case for financial year 2024. We also had the market conformity of the level of remuneration confirmed by an external expert opinion in 2023, that is, in the year in which we resolved to extend the contracts with Peter Krüger and Sibylle Rice, including the increase in their remuneration. In view of the aforementioned explanations, I would like to once again call for your approval of the 2024 remuneration report at today's AGM. My request is accompanied by my promise that more detailed reports will be provided on future changes to Executive Board remuneration. And of course, this applies to cases in which we apply the two-stage increase system we have practiced to date. Allow me now to say a few words about TUI AG's Supervisory Board, which did not undergo any personnel changes in the past financial year. In 2024, the 2024 AGM confirmed Ingrid Helen Arnold, Maria Garanya Gorses, Colleen Lucille McConville, and Joan Trian Rio as members of the Supervisory Board of TUI AG. In addition, on the employee side, Peter Bremer left the Supervisory Board of TUI AG at the end of the 2024 calendar year. Mr. Bremer had been a member of our board since the summer of 2014 and had been involved in numerous important strategic decisions for the group. In January 2025, Reinhard Tannisch was appointed as his successor on the Supervisory Board, whom we would like to welcome, and he will also briefly introduce himself later. Today's agenda also includes resolutions on the election of Supervisory Board members, and I will go into more detail about the candidates when I summarize the agenda, and they will also have the opportunity to say a few personal words to you. As you have already seen from the invitation to the AGM, Professor Edgar Ernst has decided not to stand for re-election. Even though we can understand this decision, we regret his resignation from the Supervisory Board. Dear Edgar, on behalf of the entire Supervisory Board of TUI AG, I would like to express my sincere thanks for your many years of service on the Supervisory Board of TUI AG and as Chairman of the Audit Committee. We will miss you both professionally and personally and wish you all the best for the future. We have no doubt that you will remain on friendly terms with TUI and our Supervisory Board. Dear Edgar, thank you very much. As you will have seen from the invitation, today's agenda also includes an agenda item on reducing the size of the Supervisory Board. We have discussed this in detail in our board and support the plan together with the Executive Board. It is in line with the feedback from our investors and the objectives of the transformation, promoting lean structures, increasing efficiency and reducing costs. Of course, the Supervisory Board will also fully fulfill its control and advisory function in a smaller body. Finally, I would like to express my sincere thanks to you, our valued shareholders, for your continued trust. I would also like to thank the Executive Board and the Group Executive Committee, all employees, and my colleagues on the Supervisory Board for their extraordinary commitment. Together, we have created a solid foundation for the future of TUI. Let us continue to work with determination and vision on the transformation of our group to make our TUI even more profitable, efficient, and competitive. I would like to thank you for your attention and conclude my comments on the report of the Supervisory Board. I would now like to ask our CEO, Sebastian Ebel, and then our CFO, Mathias Kiep, to explain the documents mentioned under Agenda Item 1 and the situation of the company, as well as the items on the agenda for resolution. Sebastian Ebel and Mathias Kiep, you now have the floor.
Dear shareholders of TUI, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my colleagues on the Executive Board and the Group Executive Committee, and on behalf of the entire TUI team, I would like to welcome you to our Annual General Meeting 2025. I'm delighted that so many of you have joined us today digitally, and we look forward to our contributions in the debate later on. I would like to start my speech by saying thank you. Thank you for your loyalty to TUI, for your trust in our company, and for your support as shareholders. Many of you have been very closely to our side in difficult years. We greatly appreciate this. Your trust in TUI, our employees, and our strategy were important signals and have strengthened our company. This, your trust, is an obligation to us. And this is also why our CFO, Mathias Kiep, and I, and our investor relations team invest a lot of time in discussions with our investors. We are delighted that together we are now seeing another successful year for TUI and have been able to prove this over the last 10 quarters. The transformation is in full swing. We are seeing gradual progress, and above all, there are clear global growth perspectives. I'll come back to that later. 2024 was a very good year for our company. We grew profitably and were able to report successful development in all our group's divisions. I will come to this in detail in a moment. And our outlook for 2025 is also good, ambitious and realistic. We have again set ourselves ambitious targets for the current financial year and are well on track to continuing the last year's profitable growth. What is important to me is that we have delivered what we announced and promised in the 10 quarters. This is my principle: openly identifying challenges, seizing opportunities, tackling unconventional ideas, and reliability for the company, for you as shareholders, for our employees, and for our many partners. This is what you can expect from us. This successful development is largely thanks to the TUI team, a loyal and extremely motivated team. A crisis like COVID and a recovery like the one we have achieved afterwards can only be achieved with a professional and strong team. I would therefore like to start with my speech by thanking our employees most sincerely. They are not only the face of TUI to our customers, they are also the heart of TUI. Last year, our more than 67,000 colleagues from over 100 countries around the world were able to offer more than 20 million guests a dream holiday with passion and enormous personal commitment, with unrivaled holiday expertise in our industry, with an internationality that is unrivaled, and with the unique Let's TUI It spirit that characterizes our team and makes it strong. Our success is the result of a great team. I'm very aware of this, and the entire management team is very aware of this. So once again, many thanks to all my colleagues. I'm particularly pleased that satisfaction in our team has increased significantly. The satisfaction score in our employees survey rose by 7% last year to 81. In terms of recommending TUI as an employer, we were able to increase our score by 8 points. Our come as you are approach plays an important role here. At TUI, every employee can be who they are. Diversity, quality, and inclusion are essential for our success. They promote innovation, growth, and a sense of belonging. That's why diversity is firmly anchored in our people strategy. And by that, I mean diversity across the board, because diversity is more than just gender. This is precisely why why we support the Diversity Charter. This is part of our promise to our employees. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the employees' representatives led by our Group Works Council chairperson and the deputy chairperson of the Supervisory Board, Frank Jacobi. Good cooperation is one of the strengths of our group and a key factor in our success. Thank you for the constructive dialogue and your support. TUI's development in the last years shows impressively that positive change is possible. Successful transformation is possible if you have a clear plan and move in the right direction. Together, you can overcome even serious and existential crises together. And they can be used as a starting block for new growth. Without these future-proof plan and without a clear direction, it is simply not possible. Then you cannot move forward. Best you stay put, but as a rule, you fall back. In the European Union, and especially here in Germany, we are now precisely in this point. Will we be able to develop a new vision and implement it together in close cooperation between politics, business and society? Realization means also accepting painful cuts instead of insisting on the lowest common denominator. Will we manage to restore confidence, drive and trust in Germany and Europe? Will we manage to free ourselves from the shackles of excessive bureaucracy and regulation? In recent years, a lot of things have fallen apart at the seams. Many things that have long been taken for granted can no longer be taken for granted. This creates uncertainty and drives people apart, and thus also drives people to the margins, an extreme margin. We have lived beyond our means, overestimated ourselves, or painted a picture that has long since ceased to correspond to reality. The reason for this are probably manifold and are difficult to pin down to the failure of one government or one political trend. I will leave that to the analysts. What is important to me is the way forward. We need a new vision, a plan for the future of Germany and Europe, a plan that promotes innovation and investment, a plan that harmonizes growth and sustainability, a plan that restores confidence in Europe and in our democracies, in our state, and thus takes the wind out of the sails of the populists and agitators on the fringes. This plan also includes taking people's problems seriously and not leaving parts of the population behind. This is also essential in order to counteract the increasing division in our society. Without growth, we will not get out of the crisis. Excessive bureaucracy and regulatory madness prevent growth and innovation. We all know that, and yet in recent years, we have seen more and more nonsensical regulations, frameworks and guidelines that continue to paralyze us in business and society. As long as this does not change, the mood in our country will not change either. I therefore very much hope that the next federal government here in Germany, but also in the EU, in Brussels, will create urgently needed space for investment and innovation. Therefore, therefore for growth, we need a reset. We need clear goals and simple regulations, a culture of trust instead of regulatory madness and paternalism. I would also like to spend my regards to Brussels. A clear commitment to dismantling is needed. I'm convinced of one thing: Europe is our future and must never be open to debate, especially in a polarized world in which traditional alliances are losing significance. The European Union is more important to us than ever. It is therefore all the more important that the EU gets closer to the people and their needs again and is much less preoccupied with itself. A strong European Union protects us from despots and blackmail. Less state control and fewer state tasks mean more room for maneuver for investments. The last government has created 8% new jobs for civil servants and employees at federal level in around 3 years. Each additional position produces new rules and then wants to monitor themselves. Germany is one of the most highly regulated places in the world. We can see the result today. The money needs to flow in a more targeted way because there is a lack of investment where we need to strengthen our country in defense, security, in the police, in the hospital. in healthcare system and in infrastructure. And in such an environment, companies will invest again. Only companies that make profit can invest, including climate protection. German and European companies want a transformation to a climate-friendly economy, but they need the space to be able to make necessary investments. The situation is anything but hopeless. This is impressively demonstrated by the example of Greece, one of our most important destinations worldwide. A few years ago, I was able to discuss Greece's tourism strategy for the coming years with Prime Minister Mathias in Athens. And we talked about countries' reforms of the last 15 years. They have been drastic, but Greece is on course and growing. I'm impressed by how this government has brought the country back on track with a clear roadmap and courageous step. And the example of Greece shows something else impressively. Tourism is a driver of development here in Europe, but especially in emerging developing countries and around the world. An economic driver of development, and this is often underestimated, and also a social one, from environmental standards to working conditions, from education to protection and cultural heritage. Responsibility and sustainable development, developed tourism creates enormous value in destinations. Not to mention to measurable effects of international understanding and intercultural exchange. Especially in these times, we should not underestimate this positive contribution of our industry, but rather emphasize it with confidence. Personal exchange and encounters between people are the best protection against nationalism, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. It is therefore important for me to emphasize once again at this point the little attention that our industry receives from politicians here in Germany and also Europe at the European level is disproportionate to the immense importance of tourism for Germany, Europe, and the world. The framework conditions for our country are not, industry are not ideal in many areas. So more support from politicians would enable our sector to develop even better. So despite these difficult conditions, TUI succeeded in achieving another growth spurt in 2024. Let me now turn to the results of the past year, a strong year for the group. At 23 billion, we achieved further significant growth in sales and very good EBIT result of 1.3 billion. Our markets and airline segment successfully expanded and grew its market share. The holiday experiences segment with our holidays, hotels, cruises, and activities and experiences of TUI Musement had another record year. We made good progress in implementing our ambitious sustainability goals. For us, sustainability was and is not a fad, but conviction, part of our DNA. However, we also know that we have major tasks ahead of us. Significant and above all profitable growth, a positive cash flow trend in order to reduce our debt and manage our investments. And this is important for TUI. In the past financial year, we were able to strengthen our balance sheet and further reduce our debt. As a result, the rating agency Fitch gave TUI a BB rating, great rating with a stable outlook at the end of last week. This corresponds to return to the pre-pandemic level of 2018. Fitch rating especially emphasizes our leading market position and strong brand awareness, and also addresses our differentiation and diversification advantages. The rating improvement is the result of an enormous joint effort in the last years, which is why I am particularly pleased. All this shows the crisis has finally been overcome. We are clearly on course for profitable growth, and we want to stay on this course in 2025. Despite difficult conditions, tourism expected to grow faster than the global economy again this year. This is the basis for our growth as market leader. We want to increase sales by between 5 and 10%. In terms of EBIT, we want to increase our record result from last year by 7 to 10%. The results for the first quarter presented this morning confirm the positive outlook. As I mentioned at the beginning with regards to the political environment, the environment will certainly not be easy. I'm counting on politicians to take the warning signals seriously and follow them up with actions. We can only pave the way for TUI. We want to achieve our goals and deliver. The favorable outlook is based on our clear strategy and the successful transformation of our business. As a result, we remain on course for growth for the coming years. The market is changing, and we have put TUI in a position to continue to be successful in this new environment. Our dynamically packaged holidays are becoming increasingly attractive and important for our customers. We are offering our guests more and more flexibility, individuality, and choice, without compromising on the usual TUI quality. We're also increasingly utilizing the opportunities offered by artificial intelligence to continuously improve the experience for our guests, both during the booking process and on holiday. Incidentally, the topic of AI is an excellent example of cooperation with employee representatives. Back in March 2024, we reached an agreement that regulates the use of AI at TUI and ensures that both company and its employees can benefit from the opportunities. As a result, over 30,000 colleagues have already actively participated in AI training courses. This ensures that we can use AI as a game changer for TUI. A great deal will be happening here in the coming years, and we are at the forefront. Our goal is clear. We are consistently transforming TUI into a unique global and platform-based marketplace for carefully selected leisure experiences. We want to offer even more products to even more customers, not only with our tour operators and airlines, but also with our hotels, cruise companies, and with our activities and experiences. This is the basis for continuously expanding our market share. Our curated, that means our exclusive products, are of crucial importance here. In all of this, we want to limit ourselves to holidays and travel. In future, we will increasingly offer the full range of leisure experiences, from safaris on holidays in Namibia to concerts in hometowns. Last year alone, our portfolio grew by over 20,000 activities and experiences, and many new offers are added to our platform every day. Customers who know and love TUI from their holidays will now also be able to enjoy attractive experiences and activities at home with the usual TUI quality and reliability, customized for our customers and tailored to their needs, thanks to our increasingly efficient TUI central ecosystem. This ensures that the right offers end up with the right customer. We are therefore continuously growing on the product side. Last year, we made a significant progress in all parts of the TUI world. And I would like to mention just a few points by way of example. We have entered into new partnerships that allow us to offer our customers completely new products. Our new cooperation with Ryanair, for example, will enable us to significantly expand our range with city breaks in future. In the hotel sector, we have opened numerous new hotels and resorts, many of them in destinations where TUI was previously not present. In Africa, for example, new hotel classes are being built on the east and west coast. A lot also is happening in Asia. We'll come to that later. In the cruise business, the growth of our fleet has continued with Mein Schiff 7. And the new Mein Schiff Relax will follow in just a few weeks. And we also have plans in the pipeline for Marella Cruises. And of course, a lot has happened at TUI Musement, our platform for activities and experiences. New, attractive and exclusive orders are added here every day all over the world. As you can see, TUI's product portfolio is constantly growing in all areas. And we are also expanding TUI's presence on the map and growing strongly, especially outside Europe. We bring our TUI smile to the world. Our extremely strong brand is helping us to do this. It already stands for joy and experience, for quality and uniqueness in many countries around the world. And we are very proud of the TUI smile, as you can see from our outfit today. The strategy for the development of the brand is clear. We want to bring the TUI smile to even more people around the world and make the brand even better known and more popular internationally. And we want to charge it with further emotion. Our new sports sponsorship products initiated this year play an important role in this. The TUI Palma Marathon, which was launched last autumn, and the TUI Marathon in Rhodes in a few weeks are great examples of this. And we will also be heavily involved in small-sided football as a new trend sport. And of course, our unique product experiences also play a key role in this. We are currently seeing strong growth with TUI Blue in China and Southeast Asia with excellent customer satisfaction and strong occupancy rates. The TUI Blue hotel experience extremely popular with our Asian guests, and which is why we will continue to drive growth here at full speed in the coming years. We're also continuing to expand our hotel portfolio in the Caribbean, where we are welcoming more and more guests from North America. And finally, we are in the progress of opening up new source markets. TUI Poland is now being followed by Czech Republic and other Eastern European countries. With the powerful platform of TUI Iberia, we are not only opening up Spain and Portugal, but also offering our products to the steadily growing middle classes in Latin America, and with high growth rates and very attractive margins. Until now, we have seen these countries as holiday destinations, but the brand is also well known and strong in these countries, and people want to travel, even in those parts of the world that we know primarily as our holiday destinations. I have now mentioned examples of the global expansion of TUI Miles. I have already said that the global tourism market is growing reliably and faster than the economy as a whole. We want, as TUI, benefit from this, not only in our traditional European markets, but also in the Asian and American continents. We will continue to enjoy this growth in the coming years. However, we do not aim for growth in isolation. We want to grow sustainably and pay appropriate attention to all three dimensions of sustainability: the ecological, as well as the social and economic. Last year, I gave you a very detailed insight into our TUI sustainability agenda, People, Planet, Progress. We have made good progress in all these areas of the agenda. Our work is also being recognized and acknowledged across the industry. Of course, the consistent reduction of our carbon footprint remains a key element, both in the airline sector, but also in our cruises and at our hotels and resorts. We remain committed to our ambitious goals and are working hard to achieve them. Of course, we are also dedicated to the social dimension of sustainability in all our destinations. Our position is clear. The people in the holiday destinations must benefit from tourism. They are also the ones who have to decide how much and what kind of tourism they want. One thing is clear: we cannot and do not want to develop a destination without the local people. Partnership and cooperation with the local population is of central importance to us. That is why we are also very proud of the work of the TUI Care Foundation, which is now involved in 90 projects in over 30 countries for people and nature in holiday destinations. It is independent, but is supported by guests and the company, and from training and the promotion of young local small businesses to marine conservation and reforestation. The group and the entire TUI team once again actively support supported the foundation last year, not only with donations, but also with the energy and also expertise of the colleagues who enrich the foundation's work in local projects at the destinations. This approach makes the foundation's work very special. One of the highlights was certainly the visit of the federal president and his wife to a project on Crete. As you can see, sustainability is not a trendy topic for us and the TUI Care Foundation. The sustainable organization of our business is and remains of central importance to all of us at TUI and across all business areas. This was the case before the topic became the focus of public debate a few years ago, and it remains so now that other topics and challenges are now once again at the center of public debate. I'm personally convinced that tourism can only be successful and create value in the long term if it's organized sustainably. And that is exactly what we want, to create long-term value for everyone who is part of the TUI family, for all stakeholders, for our customers, for our colleagues, for our partners in the destinations and in our markets, and of course for you, dear shareholders. With this in mind, we are looking forward to organizing another Capital Markets Day at the end of March. Here we would like to give investors, analysts and bankers a more detailed insight into our company's strategy. The event will focus in particular on the progress made in the transformation of the market and airline segment and provide an update on the development of the holiday experiences segment. And I always say the TUI of today is another TUI, the TUI from yesterday, and the TUI of tomorrow will be different from today. With our future-proof strategy and a clear focus on profitable growth, we create consistent and mutually reinforcing value for all stakeholders. Highly satisfied colleagues lead to highly satisfied guests become TUI fans and boost our business. And they make it more valuable for you as shareholders. TUI is now in the middle of this upward spiral. We achieved good results in last year. The new financial year has also got off to a strong start. Our strategic orientation and our position in the market are very good. We have every opportunity to continue a profitable growth in the coming years. In short, TUI is now on course for growth. TUI is on the move. So I would like to thank everybody who has played a part in this. We are continuing along the path of transformation very consistently, and we are convinced that we will succeed. And we will continue to significantly expand our already very successful holiday experiences growth area with hotels, cruises, and activities. The markets and airline segment will become stronger and more profitable as a result of the transformation, and we will grow by entering the new markets in Eastern Europe and outside Europe. And I'm looking forward to this. Ladies and gentlemen, trends, strategy, and operating performance are in harmony. This spurs us on, and this is the basis for successful TUI this year and in the future. Thank you very much.
Mathias,
the floor is yours.
Sehr geehrte Teilnehmer
Dear participants of today's AGM, dear shareholders, I would like to welcome you to our annual general meeting. As Sebastian Ebel already put it in his speech, 2024 was a successful financial year. First, we have achieved our financial and earnings targets. Second, the financial profile of our segments is now much stronger than in 2019. Third, the group's financial structure has continued to improve significantly and faster than could have been expected even 12 months ago. Four, we also expect growth in the new financial year. Our goal is to increase adjusted earnings by a further 7 to 10% in 2025. I would like to discuss these points and today's agenda below. On the course of business in 2024, more than 20 million customers have traveled on holiday with us, an increase of 7%. This resulted in group sales of over 23 billion euros, an increase of 12%. This means that our guests have never invested more in their holiday with us than in 2024. This means that it's a strong signal. Holiday travel continues to be very important, and we have the right products. The group's adjusted EBIT rose to around 1.3 billion, an increase of 35% compared to our forecast of at least 25%. One key fact has contributed to this. The financial profile of our segments is now much stronger than in 2019. Our hotels achieved a result of around 670 million euros. That is 1.5 times more than in 2019. Our hotel strategy enables us to achieve growth and higher returns, and in addition to this, increase in value. A clearly defined dividend policy with our joint venture partners is an important component, and this successful concept must be continued in the coming years. Cruises. Cruises achieved a result of over 370 million euros. They're therefore now also above the 2019 level. In addition, TUI Cruises was able to resume dividend payments. We have received our first payment since the pandemic, totaling 20 million euros in the fourth quarter. The business continues to develop positively, and TUI Cruises therefore expects a dividend payment at a historic level in financial year 2025. Markets and airlines achieved a result of more than 300 million euros. This was achieved with significantly greater operational flexibility compared to 2019. The number of dynamic packages has doubled. The aircraft fleet was reduced, and the associated lease liabilities were reduced by 0.5 billion euros. Our transformation is showing its first clear successes here. It is generating growth without increasing the balance sheet risk. Now, this leads me to the further details of the income statement for 2024. The aforementioned adjusted operating result of 1.3 billion euros is central to this. The other positions are also in line with our objectives. Interest expenses were further reduced. Excluding the special effect from the repurchase of the convertible bond, they were 80 million euros lower than in the previous year. While this is still a high level and we need to work on it, it is also significant progress as a result of our financial strategy and discipline. In total, TUI AG shareholders will therefore receive a profit of 0.5 billion euros. On an adjusted basis, earnings per share of €1 have thus virtually doubled compared with the previous year. In line with the result, the group's operating cash flow and financial structure has also improved further. Net debt was reduced by 0.5 billion euros to 1.6 billion euros. This brings the net gearing ratio to around 0.8, compared to a factor of 1.2 in the previous year. Compared to 2019, this key figure has already almost halved. This is an important step towards our medium-term goal of significantly reducing the debt level to below a factor of 1.0. In parallel to this development, we were also very successful in completing the refinancing of the Corona aid. The KfW credit line that was still available last year has now formally been repaid in full as planned. This was achieved much faster than could have been expected 12 months ago. In February 2024, we were able to place a bond in the amount of 0.5 billion euros, a convertible bond for the same amount in July. Both financings were concluded at conditions that were significantly better than the group's official rating. The strong demand and the placement at the upper end of our expectations emphasize that there is a high level of market and investor confidence. confidence in our company. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my finance team in particular, and also the members of our Supervisory Board, especially the Audit Committee and the Transaction Committees. They have repeatedly supported these measures with intensive advice and discussion, as well as maximum flexibility. Allow me to say a few personal words in this context. Dear Professor Ernst, this is our last annual general meeting together. Yesterday, we had our last joint audit committee under your leadership. I would like to personally thank you once again for your support, your advice, and your cooperation over so many years. It is difficult for me to imagine what we have achieved without your contribution. Looking ahead, the aim now is to further strengthen the financial profile with unchanged financial discipline. And as Sebastian already said this, the agency Fitch reflected this a few days ago and published a rating for the TUI Group for the first time. The agency has honored our financial progress with a credit rating of BB. This is another milestone and means that the 2019 rating category has been reached again. As planned, the updated views of the other agencies are still pending. Let me now turn to the developments and the outlook for the new financial year before I move on to two items on today's agenda. As published a few hours ago, we have made a positive start to the new financial year. For the first 3 months, 3.7 million guests traveled with TUI, an increase of around 6%. The turnover rose by 13% to 4.9 billion euros. The adjusted EBIT improved by 45 million euros to 51 million euros compared to the previous year. The bookings for winter 2024-25 are currently 2% up to the previous year. Although bookings for summer 2025 are still at an early stage, in a competitive environment, they're currently already 2% higher than in summer 2024. It means with average prices of up to 4%. This shows that holiday trips will continue to be a high priority for our customers in 2025. Sebastian has already commented on strategy and operational development. As announced in December, we therefore expect sales growth of 5 to 10% and an increase in adjusted EBIT of 7 to 10% in 2025 compared to the previous year. Well, in conclusion, my comments on the agenda for today's AGM. This brings us to items 5 and 6, the proposed capital measures, and item 8.1, the proposed authorization to hold virtual annual general meeting. The proposed capital would serve to provide TUI with the necessary strategic and financial flexibility in the capital market at all times, as customary in the market. Under item 5, we therefore ask the annual general meeting to the approval of new authorized capital. This authorizes the Executive Board, with the approval of the Supervisory Board, to increase the share capital by issuing new shares against cash or non-cash contributions by up to 10%, that is 50.7 million euros. The subscription rights of shareholders may be excluded in this context, provided that the issue price of the new shares is not significantly lower than the stock market price. Similarly, under item 6, we request authorization for the Executive Board to issue new convertible bonds or similar instruments or combinations thereof with the approval of the Supervisory Board. This is also based on the creation of conditional capital for the issue of up to 50.7 million new shares. If the authorizations are exercised, the exclusion of shareholder subscription rights is generally limited to a total of 10% of the share capital. A term of 5 years is proposed for each of the two anticipatory resolutions. I would like to emphasize the following. The proposed authorizations serve to maintain strategic and financial freedom of action. the refinancing of coronavirus aid has been completed. For further details, please refer to the report of the Executive Board in the invitation to today's annual general meeting, and I would ask you to approve these proposed resolutions. At this point, I would like to add a few explanations on item 8.1, the authorization to hold virtual annual general meetings. And Mr. Zetsche already touched upon this item. We are aware that the way in which an AGM is organized is regularly discussed. We receive a lot of encouragement for a virtual format, but also very critical voices. In the run-up to this AGM, we therefore also discussed this point with a large number of investors. The overall very positive feedback for this format was emphasized. From our point of view, the advantage of the virtual format is really very efficient because shareholders can really exercise their right to speak and ask questions in the same way as in an in-person event. Even after our return to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, we continue to have many international shareholders, particularly from the US, the UK, and other European countries. The virtual format and the option of following the meeting with an English audio track enable efficient participation and reflect our current working method. In our view, cost aspects also clearly speak in favor of this format. With regard to shareholder rights, the opportunities to make requests to speak and ask questions are the same in both formats. The last 2 years have demonstrated that you, our shareholders, also make active use of this in a virtual format. We had more contributions than in previous years in attendance. In our view, a very good exchange on a variety of topics. All in all, we are convinced of the virtual format. We are therefore asking you again today for your approval of a corresponding authorization for which a 75 majority is required. In the best sense of an annual general meeting, the decision is now in your hands. Dear shareholders, allow me to summarize. The 2024 financial year was a very successful year. We were able to achieve the targets communicated 12 months ago. TUI's financial profile has been significantly strengthened. Earnings and leverage are at a better level than in 2019. We've made a positive start to the new financial year. We have a clear strategy to continue growing and developing the group in a challenging environment. For the current financial year, we therefore expect an increase in adjusted EBIT of 7 to 10%. The share price has also begun to gradually reflect the financial success. Your decision at the last annual general meeting to bring our stock market listing back to Frankfurt has paid off. As expected, we were admitted to the MDAX and our investor base has been strengthened. The share price performance of the last few months can only be a first step here. Overall, the level is still well below our expectations and, above all, TUI's potential. As Sebastian emphasized, in March, we will therefore be organizing a Capital Markets Day for the first time since 2018. I would therefore like to take this opportunity to thank you, our shareholders, once again for your trust, your support, and your patience on our journey. Concerning implementation, operational excellence, and financial performance, will always be a priority. Profitable growth is a very big common goal. Thank you for your attention, and I am delighted that you're attending today's annual general meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sebastian and Mathias, for your explanations. Now, at this juncture now, the broadcast of this AGM available to the public via the company's website comes to an end. I would like to thank all of you.